Okay, so we're going to start off the solo with a unison bend. So we're over the A chord, the 1 chord, and I'm going to be bending into the 3rd from the 2nd. And just as I get to pitch, I'm reaching across to the B string and playing the C sharp on the B string. And then going to do a bend release into the 2, pulling off to the root there. And then 6 to 5, back to the root, 6. This time I'm going to slide in to the G and then play an open G. Okay, so another unison, this time a different way of playing it. Here it was a bend. Here, slide in with the open string. And then we're going to pull off from the F sharp to the E to the open D. Okay, and then play that flat 3 to 3. Play the root. Slide down from the flat 3 to the 2. Open A, 2, open A, F sharp, low E, and then slide into the A. When we get to the A here that we're sliding into, we're going to go back and forth between the fretted A and do the unison with the open A. And just filling out the measure with eighth notes. Okay? Next we're going to do these banjo rolls that kind of came up with that have some tone clusters in them and outline triads a little bit. So we're going to slide into the 3rd from the flat 3rd, go across to the 5th, and then we have the open G string. Right hand is doing pick, pick, middle finger. Then I'm going to hammer on from the open D to the E. Pick, pick, middle finger. This is giving me, by the way, over the A chord, it's giving me the flat 7 and the 9, or the sus2, depending on how you think about it. Gonna hammer onto the 6. That's where we get that first kind of cluster. We have a 3rd and a 2nd. And I'm gonna do that same move, this time the root to the 2, major 3rd, and the open E. I'm trying to get all those to ring into each other as much as possible. Okay, still in A. Now what we're going to do is we're going to play 6s, and we're going to aim for all the arpeggio notes. So root, 3rd, 5th, flat 7, root. With the bottom note, we're going to approach it from a half step bend underneath. Now when we get to the 5th and the root up here, I'm sorry, the flat 7 and the root up here, I'm going to approach it from a whole step underneath. So these are all half step approaches. And these are diatonic step approaches. Okay? Now we're going to be playing over the 4 chord, the D. So I'm going to slide into the 5th and 7. Okay? After I slide into that 5th and 7, I'm jumping back here, and this is kind of giving me a 4 of sound. So there's my D. We're using that G there, kind of 4 substitution. Coming back to the root, hammering on to the major 3rd with that 5th in there. Grabbing the root in the 3rd. And for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab those, and I'm going to bring it down a half step, and slide it down a half step to give myself the flat 7 and the 9. Then I'm going to do a similar thing here with the 6 and the root. Ending up on the 5th and the 7. And now I'm going to use an open string lick in D. I'm going to start by hammering on from the flat 3 to 3. Play the open E string. Jump down to the D. Walk that down chromatically until I can play the B string, play the A, walk it down chromatically until I get to the G, which I can play open. Hammering on from the flat 3 to 3 and landing onto the root. Okay, now I'm back to the 1 chord. I'm going to do a half step approach into that dominant 7. Release it. Coming down to the E, D, E, flat 7, flat 3rd, sorry. Root, flat 7. And then we're going to use a little bit of the blues scale here. We're going to do a pull off between the flat 5, 4, flat 3. Landing on the major 3. Jumping up a 6 to the root. Okay, this next move is kind of tricky. There's a few unisons in there too. But we're going to slide into the 6 and immediately bend it into the flat 7. So same thing we did up here, an octave lower though. And then we're going to fret that G, that flat 7 on the next string. Slide it down to F sharp. Play E on the 3rd string, play it again on the 2nd string. A lot of unisons going on in there. There's your 4, flat 3 to 3, root, flat 7. 5 is going to be a pull off to the flat 5, to the 4, and slide down to the flat 3. And then we have 4, flat 3, A, leading to the E. Okay, so we're on our 5 chord now. When I get to that E and the E is ringing, I'm going to jump up to the G sharp here, and I'm going to do a little chicken pick and move into that G sharp from a whole step underneath. So palm muting. And notice I'm dragging my finger. When it gets to be faster tempos, you can fret each one, that's fine, but sometimes it's easier to just drag the finger across. Okay, so I'm doing that off of G sharp and E, F sharp and D, E and C sharp, and then sliding that C sharp down to B. And now here's the hold on the 4 chord. All right, so this 4 chord, I'm using an A minor triad to get the flat 7 and the 9. So and I'm embellishing that. So it's not actually sounding as an A minor triad, but it's a familiar template for us to kind of get some of those extension notes. So I'm going to start by playing this, and I'm going to hammer on from the 5th to the 6th, and then I'm going to play the double stop of that flat 7 and 9. Go back and forth, and you get that dissonance there between the flat 7 and the 6. And then pull off from the 5 to the 4. And I'm going to just repeat that again. Okay, now we have this Jerry Reed inspired double stop lick here, which is going to use some of the blues scale. Back to the A chord. I'm going to grab the 5th and the root. I'm going to reach across and grab the flat 5 in the root. And I'm going to pull off to the 4, and then pull off again to the flat 3. Play the 4, flat 3, root, hammer on. There I grab the flat 3 and the 5. Hammering out to the 3, to the root. I got another 4 of there in the A, but I'm kind of making a D chord shape. Hammer on to the 3 again. Root, muted pick stroke on the E. And this is going to set up these tritones. The relationship between the flat 7 and the 3rd on a dominant chord is always going to be a tritone. So we could really play around with that. So in A, it's going to be G and C sharp. So after that muted pick stroke, I'm going to do a half step slide twice into that flat 7 and 3. And I'm using my middle and ring finger. Coming back to the 5th and root. Half step slide once into the C sharp and G. Come back to the 5th and root. Muted pick stroke again. And then, because it's a little awkward to reach up and do this with these 2 fingers, I'm going to use my middle and pick. And I'm going to do a half step approach from above this time, down to the G and the C sharp.